Hello everyone, I am Candidate Master Atul Dahale and welcome to my Incredible Chess channel. This is the third game in our best games of Capablanca series, and guys, I would like to say this thing that this game is really interesting. You are going to enjoy this game, but before we go further, I would like to say that if you have not watched the first two parts of this Capablanca series, then do watch it. I have given the links in the I section above as well as in the description. Okay, so this game was played in 1925 in Moscow. Okay, I would like to say a few words about his opponent, Efim Bogoljubow. Bogoljubow was two times World Championship challenger. Yes, he played in 1929 and 1934 against Alekhine, but he did not manage to win the championship. But it shows that he was among the top players at that time. And the tournament in which this game was played, this was also won by Bogoljubow. Okay, so this game is very special, and when this game was played, Bogoljubow was actually 2 points ahead than the world chess champion Capablanca, and Capablanca had to take the risk in order to win, or you can say to minimize the gap between the leader and him. So this game was fierce and we are going to enjoy it. So let's go straight to the game. Before we go further, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are new here. So Capablanca started with d4, d5 was played, c4, e6, knight f3, d captures c4. This is queen's gambit accepted. Then e4 was played. Nowadays here b5 is a very common move which has been played by many players, but at that time theory was still evolving and players tried to play towards the center of the board most of the time. So here c5 was played. And after this game, bishop captures c4, c captures d4, knight captures d4. The theory evolved a lot and people started to play b5 in their games. Okay, fine. We will not go into the complete opening details right now in this game because this game is really interesting. Middle game and end game. Okay. Not exactly end game, but we'll see. Okay, knight f6 was played. Then the pawn on e4 is under attack. So knight c3 protecting the pawn on e4, bishop c5. The knight on d4 is under attack, so he plays bishop to e3 supporting the knight on d4, knight d7. Okay, this is a very dubious move, I must say, because after this move there are certain things which happen in the game. You can pause the video and think what can white do to make this position very interesting. I must say that there is one sacrifice involved in this position. So before you go further, I would like to say this thing also, that castling was simpler in this case. Maybe e5, knight d5, bishop captures d5, e captures d5 might be slightly bad for black, but he has some possibilities of developing this bishop on this diagonal. Knight will be coming on c6 square at some point. Maybe you have to capture it here, but okay, you can play on. Okay, this is not that favorable, but black can still play on. Castling is something which should be played, which I think in this position. But he played knight d7 in that position, and then I hope that you have calculated the line. Capablanca came up with a dashing move, you can say. He captured bishop into e6. The point is, after f into e6, knight captures e6, the pawn on g7 is under attack. Knight is capturing the queen on d8. If a queen moves to e7 square trying to protect the pawn, the knight c7, and there will be a fork in the position, so that's not also any option in the position, and black is kind of in trouble. White will at least get 3 pawns in the position if you wish to get, and this is also similar position towards or you can say from the Sicilian opening. Okay, in that opening also this kind of sacrifices always come in Nadov opening where bishop c4 is played. Okay, fine. So here Bogoljubow needs to make the right decision where to move the queen. We already saw that queen e7 is not a good option. Queen a5 was played in the game, which is not that great move. Queen b6 should have been played. And just to let you know, like, Capablanca was a very fancy player also at that time, I must say, and he showed one very interesting variation which was the example of the romantic era of that time. I would like to just show you the variation which Capablanca himself showed in the post-game analysis. Okay, so here the variation which he showed goes like this: knight captures c5, knight captures c5, castles, queen c6, because like the threats like knight a4 was there because knight is pinned. Okay, rook c1, again putting some pressure over here. He captures on e4, knight captures e4, queen captures e4, rook e1. Again the queen and the king both are in the same line. The rook is there, so there are certain threats in the position. So moves away, maybe king f7, but then rook c7 check, king g6. And after this, bishop to d4, queen f4, rook e7, the g7 pawn is under attack. Well, here rook g8 might be the best move, but Capablanca showed that rook d8, and after this check, here check. This is the point. If you capture here, again a check, king will capture. White has already sacrificed 2 rooks in the position, okay? Then queen h5 check, king g8, and now queen g6 check, king f8, and bishop to c5 check. And black is not having any squares. Rook d6 is the only move, but after that also the queen will be lost at this point, and I think white should be winning because of 3 pawns. Quite interesting variation which Capablanca showed. Well, this wouldn't have happened if in this position rook g8 is played supporting the pawn on g7. Nevertheless, that was an interesting variation which we can see. But queen a5 was played in the game, and we'll continue here. Now he castled without going for the pawn on g7, which was also possible, but castling is also very strong because black cannot really castle in this position. Okay, fine. So here he plays bishop into e3, f into e3. The rook is opened, but black needs to do something with his king. Okay, so he plays king f7, queen b3. A very beautiful idea. Always remember, whenever you can get this kind of ideas on the board where the king is completely exposed and you bring out your strong piece. The strongest piece on the chessboard is the queen. If you can do that thing, it will be the best thing for you. Okay, king g6. Black's king is trying to run away, but Capablanca says, I'm not going to let you go anywhere. The rook comes on f5. The queen is under attack. King squares are limited here. Rook g5 move is also there, followed by capturing on g7. Black is in big trouble. Okay, he plays queen b6, trying to exchange the queens and liquidate the position. And here in this case, okay, one thing I would like to tell you that if knight e5 is played, then there is a very interesting variation in this case. Knight d5 is a very good move. And if knight d5 is captured, queen captures d5. Okay, why are you capturing this? The thing is that if you capture it, we are not going to capture back the queen, because in that case the rook will be lost. The move here in this position is actually knight f4 check, king h6, and rook h5 will lead to a check and mate. Great position, right? Okay, there are some fireworks, knight e5, and okay, for the sake of simplicity, you can even capture on okay, after knight d5, I mean to say, if bishop into e6 is played, you can still capture on e5. This is also a possibility in the case. Okay, fine. In the game, queen b6 was played, then he plays knight f4 check, king h6. We all know this thing that if the knight is not there, rook h5 is a checkmate, but right now knight is there. So if you want to give rook h5 checkmate, queen f7 should have been played in the game, but that was not played with the idea of rook h5 and it's a checkmate. But instead of that, he played g4 move, which was a mistake, and this threw away the complete advantage, I must say. Queen f7 should have been played, but now g5, a very good move, forcing the exchange of the queens, because if you don't exchange the queens, the knight means we need to move the knight at some point. We need to exchange the queens. If you don't do that thing, if you play queen f7 in this case, that will not be that great, because black has rook f8 move, and you don't have rook h5 check also, so black will be surviving for sure. Okay, after g5, here he exchanged the queens, queen b6, a b6, he played rook d1. He's saying like, okay, if you want to capture the pawn, the knight on f4, you can go for that thing. G5 check, king g7, capture, knight f6, rook g5 check, king f7, e captures f4, and although white is a piece down in this case, but he has some chances to survive in the position, I must say, because he has two pawns. King is still exposed, but black will definitely have some reasonable winning chances. Okay. That was not actually played in the game. He plays rook g8. He wants to win the game maybe quite quickly, but he forgot that his king is not yet safe. Although the queens are off the board, but still the king is in danger. He plays knight d5, a very good move, knight g4, and then knight e7. Now every move from this move onwards will be a threat. Knight is capturing the rook on g8, so he saves with rook g7, a check, king h5. You cannot play anything else because you will just lose the piece. And now he plays rook to h3, f3. The idea is to play rook h3 and is a checkmate. He plays knight f6, okay, and now check, king here comes, check here, and now rook h3 should have been played, okay, that was a possibility, but he did not go for that thing. He plays knight f5. This is the natural move. White is trying to checkmate now very soon, you can say. And black played rook to g6, and here knight e7 was played. Well, rook h3 followed by rook h3, king g4, king g2 was a very strong continuation from white side, I must say. And after this, maybe you can go for some other alternatives, like you can try to bring this rook in the game, or even knight e7 will be very powerful in that case, because you don't need to worry about so many things in this position. e5 is also going to come on the board. But as they say, like fortune favors the brave. After knight f5, rook g6, knight e7 was played, and after this move he played g4. Well, instead of g4, knight c5 was the move which black should have played, which will bring the bishop in the game, and there will not be any checks. Okay, you can capture it on g6, that is there, but you don't need to capture here. You have a good move, that is knight fe4, and if this is captured, you can capture it back. Both the pieces are under attack. Even if you move the rook on d6, the rook on g3 will be hanging. Rook on g3, if you move the rook on d6 will be hanging. So that's not a good idea. Okay, so knight c5 was a very interesting move, but g4 was played in the game. And after g4, knight captures on g6, king captures g6, rook g4 check, king f7, rook f4. The idea is to play e5. Here play king g7. Still he plays e5. Knight goes behind, and now rook e6. This game is almost over, I must say, and they resigned on the next move after rook e7. So the continuation might have been like maybe king g6, then e6 you can play. The knight needs to move in this position, maybe knight c7, rook will capture on c7, and so on. Check here, and white is saving the rook, and it should be winning. Okay, so this was a very interesting game, I must say. This was our third game in our Capablanca series. I hope that you enjoyed the game analysis, although it was a very quick game analysis. And we'll be meeting very soon with the fourth game of Capablanca. Till that moment, enjoy other videos also. Take care, goodbye, and love you all.